Hey guys, Tom here again from synthhacker.com. Welcome back to another tutorial for Serum, and today we're going to be taking a look at making from scratch this disclosure style bass sound. Really cool sound. It's actually inspired by a track off a 3-track EP Disclosure released recently. I think it's called something like Moog for Love. So that basically hints that they've been doing a lot of sound design with like an analog Moog synth. But I thought I'd try to create something similar within Serum anyway. Just as a disclaimer, it also sounds like in the track that there's some kind of lead playing over the top. With like a lot of unison and maybe put through some chorus or something like that. But I did the best I could really to recreate something similar. But nevertheless, regardless, it's just a really cool sound anyway. So we're going to be creating it from scratch. I'll go ahead and initialize the preset. As always, guys, these videos are supported by my website over at synthhacker.com. If you haven't done so already, definitely go over there and check out my presets for Serum and also other synths as well. I really do appreciate it. You'll get your hands on some nice presets that you can use. You can learn from them, and also you'll be supporting me and the content that I put out. So thanks in advance if you do decide to go check that out. But without further ado, let's begin making this really cool disclosure style bass sound. The first thing we're going to do is just switch on all our oscillators. We're going to be using them all in this sound. Starting in the sub oscillator, we're going to pitch this down -2 octaves and set it to go directly out to give us some nice solid clean low end. Oscillator A and B are both going to be using the analog BD sine waveform. We're going to be using some FM in just a second. I pitched down oscillator A, which is going to be the main carrier signal, and then the FM modulator signal is actually going to be coming from oscillator B, which we're going to pitch down 2 octaves. Although we're going to be using this as like a modulation source to apply some FM modulation to oscillator A. We are also going to be using oscillator B to be routed through the filter, so we are going to be able to audibly hear oscillator B on its own as well. Oscillator B, I'm also going to give just a bit of unison. I did, like I said, notice that there was either a lead sound or it was just the bass sound itself had some like unison, and it was spread across the stereo field, which had a really cool effect. So as I said, we're going to apply the FM. If we just select FM from B here, I found it sounded best about like just over halfway, somewhere about 62% sounded best to me. So I'll just show you what we've got so far. So you can hear we've got our basic kind of FM tone already. Bloody symbol in the background. We've got our basic tone already. We just need to really start shaping this. One extra thing I did was use the noise oscillator just to add a little bit of texture. I think I used the J106 high pass, which I actually use an envelope to control the amplitude of. So what we can do now, we've got our basic texture of the sound, our basic kind of harmonic structure. Like I said, we're going to start shaping it. The first thing we're going to sort out is the amplitude envelope. Now, the notes that are actually on the kicks in the track, I noticed had a bit of sustain on them. So I did have some sustain in the sound, I think just over halfway, with just a tiny bit of release. So that's our basic amplitude envelope. And then what I did was set up a second envelope, which is, if you watch a lot of these bass tutorials, you can probably guess what this is going to be used for. It's going to be to modulate the cutoff frequency of our low pass filter when we implement it. And we're going to bring the sustain of this really far down, nearly all the way, and give it a little bit of release as well. And then increase the decay a little bit to about 1.3, something like that. I can't get it out. There we go, 1.35. You can also type in values, but I'm lazy. And then we're going to shape this to be a little bit more pluck-like as well. And then first thing we're going to use it for, like I said, is to control the amplitude of our noise. And then next, after we route both oscillator A and B through our low-pass filter, which I'm going to set to 24 dB, so it's kind of like the most extreme low pass filter. We're going to use this to modulate the cutoff of this, and this will really give us a lot of the kind of main sound that we're looking for. I'll just quickly show you what I mean. One other thing that I also forgot to do, this is of course a bass sound, and we don't want the individual notes to clash with each other. So one way to avoid this is to set this into mono. It just means that every time a new note is played, the old one is just going to disappear, which you definitely want. You could also, I didn't hear it in the original track, but you could also, if you wanted, try messing around with some portamento sliding, because the notes do span across the whole octave, I think. So we can see what this sounds like. That's quite interesting. Personally, I don't know about it, but it's really up to you, I guess. The next thing we're going to do now is go into... Oh, sorry, just before we go into the effects, one other thing I did was actually set up a third envelope with no sustain and just really small amount of decay, about 9.6 or something like that. And what I used this for was to modulate the pitch of our main oscillator here. And what I use this for really is kind of similar to what you would do with a kick. I did it in a couple of other tutorials, like the Shiba-san bass, and another one I think as well. I think it was the Gorgon City type bass that I did. But this is really just to add a little bit of kind of punch to the beginning of the bass sound. It's just a really effective way just to add, it's just essentially just a really short pitch envelope at the start of the sound, similar to what you would do if you were synthesizing a kick. But yeah, like I said, this just adds a nice little bit of punch to the sound. Really cool. Next, we're going to go into the effects section. There's not really too much going on in terms of effects. I used a bit of tube distortion, which I drove quite high, but had quite a low mix on. And this really adds a little bit of texture. And it's really up to you how much you put. It actually does sound really nice, actually, with quite a high mix. I quite like it as a subtle effect as well. Like I said, again, it's just one of those things. It's completely up to you, really. And then finally, one thing that I added was just a little bit of chorus, really. I didn't have this on too much, but I just felt like this really kind of thickened up the sound, especially if you make the delay quite short. And I think I slowed down the rate a little bit as well. Let me see, did I do anything else? I think that's pretty much it on the chorus. But like I said, either there was a chorus on the bass itself. It was really hard to tell when I was listening to the track. There was either a chorus on the bass itself, or there was a lead above it, which I'm pretty sure there was, with some chorus on it. And it just sounds really nice. I think I've noticed that Disclosure use a lot of chorus. I think it's one of their kind of most used effects that they use on their sounds. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's what it sounds like to me. And other artists that do this, like if you've heard of him, Totally Enormous Extinct Dinosaurs uses it quite a lot as well, I think. But yeah, I'll just show you what this sounds like as well. So that's without. It really adds kind of almost like a warmth to the sound and really kind of thickens it up. It's really nice. And then that was pretty much the whole sound. You could take this a step further. I'm sure Disclosure used a lot of external effects, maybe some saturation, something like Decapitator or Saturn or something like that. Really, you can take this a lot of different directions from this point. You could try mess around playing with some multiband compression if you want it sounding a little bit more aggressive. It actually sounds pretty cool, but it's really completely up to you. I quite like the subtle kind of sound. And like I said, you can mess around with like the amount of distortion you have on and stuff like that as well. But that pretty much covers the sound. It's a really cool sound. You know, I don't think it was exactly the same as the original in the track, but it was pretty close, and I was just kind of using it as inspiration anyway. But yeah, hopefully you got a lot out of this video. If you did, please subscribe and like. You know, subscribe to stay up to date with new tutorials I'm bringing out all the time. If you have any questions or suggestions for future content, feel free to leave those down below in the comments as well. And yeah, I think that covers everything. And if you haven't done so already, definitely go ahead and check out my website over at synthhacker.com to check out my presets for Serum and other synths as well. But other than that, thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.